Good evening, families. My name is Heather Deere, and I am the Assistant Director of Parent and Family Programs here at William & Mary. Like I mentioned earlier, we are absolutely thrilled that so many of you have joined us this evening. We are smiling behind the scenes and just so excited that you're here with us. This is going to be the first of many webinars that we have, especially for you families. Our webinar series is going to extend throughout the summer to teach you those critical things that you need to know as your student transitions. I'm so excited because today we have Lauren Garrett with us, and she is going to be guiding your students through the summer. And we thought it would be great for you to meet us, meet the team that will support your students and you through your transition. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren Garrett, and she is going to introduce herself and talk all about first year experience. Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Heather, thank you so much for inviting me this evening, and good evening to all of our new incoming families. This is so exciting to see this number of participants on the webinar. And I think we even have some folks that might be experiencing morning right now thanks to some time difference. So kudos to y'all for waking up a little bit earlier this morning and joining us on this webinar. As Heather said, I'm Lauren Garrett. I'm the Director of First Year Experience here at the university. And I wear two hats. Not only am I a staff member, but I'm also a proud alumna. Won't give you my class year because that makes me feel old, but it is so exciting to be able to share this experience with you and your students as they enter my alma mater, the alma mater of a nation. So Heather asked me to talk with you all a little bit about first year experience and what we do as an office. So it's only best to start at the beginning and about who we are. So first year experience is staffed by myself and Terry Fasanella, our assistant director. Now, we are assisted in our journey by many, many undergraduate and graduate students, too many to name at this point in time, but we'll get to that bit a little bit later in the presentation. But these are the two names that you should become familiar with. Your students over the course of the summer will hear primarily from me, and then once the academic year gets started, they'll start to hear from Terry. Now, some schools don't have a first year experience office, and that's okay. But for William & Mary, we felt it was really important that we provide incoming students and their families with resources right at their fingertips. And why? Because we know that university transitions can be complex, overwhelming, and most importantly, exciting. Transitions are a lot about change. And when we haven't experienced change a whole lot during our young lives, it can become quite complicated. And so our office really exists to break down some of the basic resources, offerings, and experiences that the university can provide to them over the course of their 4 years with us in Williamsburg. And ultimately, your student success is really what drives us. From orientation to graduation, our office, regardless of what the name might sound like, is with your student every step of the way. When we think about what we do as the Office of First Year Experience, obviously the first thing we strive to do is to introduce ourselves, introduce students to one another, and make sure that they feel welcomed into the institution. Secondly, we want to make sure that there are relationships fostered between students as well as amongst current and incoming students. And then we want to make sure that we're cultivating our incoming students' curiosity. We want them to be thinking about who are they? What do they want to be accomplishing during their time at university, but also upon their time of graduation? Now, we don't expect them to have those answers quite yet, but we at least want them to explore a little bit. We want them to go outside of their comfort zone. We want them to try something new and perhaps even do something that they know that they aren't going to be very good at. And lastly, we want to make sure that we're supporting their building of life skills, those transferable skills that sometimes feel they aren't necessarily the things we put on the resume, but we like to think that everybody can do them. We want to make sure that they can communicate effectively. We want to make sure that they know how to actually get up on time and make sure that they complete assignments on time and on task. And lastly, our office works with a lot of peer leadership opportunities because this is a cycle for us. We want to make sure that students, once they emerge from their first year here at William & Mary, that they are able to sort of repeat this cycle of introduction and welcome and fostering of relationships with this next incoming cohort. So whether they're selected with a titled leadership role or they're just another member of a club or a supporting member of their residence hall community, there's always an impact to be made amongst those peer relationships. So how do we do this? Heather? There we go. This means that your students are going to hear consistent ongoing communication from our office, not just over the course of the summer, but throughout the course of the academic year itself, and even into their second year, but we'll get to that too. This communication will come to them in many forms. There will be email communications through their Hot Topics newsletters. They'll want to make sure to be checking their William & Mary email addresses frequently. They're also going to get communication through our social media platforms, as well as our blog, which will kickstart towards the end of May, early June. Our office is responsible for the Tribe Guide. Put your hands up, even though I can't see you, if you know what the Tribe Guide is. Everybody should know. We know. The Tribe Guide went live on May 1st at 12 noon Eastern, and it contains the checklist of everything your students and you as families need to accomplish before your students' arrival or start to the fall semester. That Tribe Guide is going to include important things, essential things like completing inventory, sharing with us their emergency, contact information, but it's also going to include some information that will help them become better situated on campus. So we want them to start exploring clubs and organizations and start thinking about what they might want to explore academically and co-curricularly. Over the course of the summer, you're going to hear from your students are going to hear from our office about welcome events, geographic student meetups via Zoom, as well as orientation. And that's really the kickoff to the academic year in their academic experience at William & Mary is new student orientation. Once orientation wraps up, they'll go through our annual opening convocation on the first day of classes. Our office coordinates that alongside university events in the president's office. And that really is sort of a not to be missed moment for our students. Families, we encourage you to also take part in that ceremony by watching our live stream, which I know Heather and Mark will chat about later. Once we actually get into the crux of the academic year, your student will start hearing from us about essential first-year initiatives. And this is a series of required programs that all students will attend with their residence hall communities. It's really important to us that orientation is not a one and done situation. There are so many topics that we want students to really think about, to really reflect on, and consider how they can be strong members of our William & Mary community. That we can't just stop those conversations in the weeks preceding their academic coursework. We need to continue those conversations so they know how to make strong, healthy choices for themselves. They know how to be strong bystanders for their friends and their community members, and they ultimately know how to navigate our university structure and access the resources that are available to them. And then once they get through this series of required initiatives, then we start opening it up to a program called Find Your Experience. Over the course of their first year, we're going to encourage them to, again, explore. Figure out where your niche is. Find your place at our institution. Find what makes you tick. Find what makes you passionate about your academic coursework. And then once you have found your experience, over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to encourage you then to form and focus. But that's a whole nother webinar that we're going to encourage you to attend over the course of the academic year. So, first year experience is really about the onboarding and the initial transition into the university community and throughout the course of their first and second semesters.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm always amazed at the amount of intention and energy that the Office of First Year Experience puts into not only welcoming our students, but ensuring that they really do find their place on campus and that they have that experience that they're going to remember long after commencement. So I applaud you and your team for all the work that you do. It's really incredible to watch. So now I'm going to speak a little bit about parent and family programs and what does the family experience look like? What do we have in store for you all during your students' time at William & Mary and over the summer? This is just one snippet of the experience that we're hoping to provide as a window into William & Mary and what the administrators here really do and what we care about. So like Lauren started, we're going to start with who are we? And with this, I'm going to introduce the guest in the room. This is Mark Sykes. He is our Vice Dean for Student Success. I would love it, Mark, if you could take a moment and share a bit about your experience here at William & Mary.
Heather, I can tell you that this picture is really old, and I don't know if I'm more worried about the gray hair that I have right now and not in that picture, but you know what, I guess we're going to have to just go with that's a previous picture that was a few years ago. I've been at William & Mary for finishing my 14th year. I came here to get a PhD many years ago, fell in love. Our family lives here. My wife works on campus. And this has really been a community that has really embraced value, has really embraced community, and has really embraced each other. I'm so excited to get to know you over the years. I'm going to be your email guy, and I'm sure Heather's going to talk to you about that. You'll see me every now and then answering questions on Facebook. I'm always available on email and pretty much do whatever Lauren and Heather tell me to do. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Heather.
Thank you, Mark. And we gladly, we love your experience and families love getting emails from you. So you will be on the lookout because you'll see his name hit your inbox a few times. My name is Heather Deere. Like I mentioned earlier, I am the Assistant Director of Parent and Family Programs. Unlike Mark, I am wrapping up year one at William & Mary, and I can say as someone who just transitioned into the tribe, I have been truly amazed at how welcoming and amazing not only the students, but the faculty, staff, and entire institution has been, and especially the Williamsburg community. I've been thrilled to join, and I absolutely love working with families in this capacity, and am really excited to get to know all of you. So why does Parent and Family Programs exist? An office like the First Year Experience or orientation might seem normal. You know, there's an office here to help students transition, but this is a transition for you too. Whether it's your first student going away to college, your last student going away to college, this is a change. A student is leaving the nest and is entering this new stage of life, and with that comes a lot of questions. And we are here to help you along the way. We recognize that this is a change for you and want to do our best to support you while your student is with us at William & Mary. And something else that I really like to emphasize is we have the same goal. We want your student to be successful, and that success is so important to us. We want your student to have that diploma and those wonderful experiences that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their life. But more importantly, we want you to look back on your time at William & Mary with very fond memories as well, that you felt supported in this transition, that you felt supported by our office and the administrators on campus as your student embarked on this journey. So that's really our primary goal. We're your partners here on campus, and we view you as partners as well. And from day one, which was just a few days ago, all the way through to commencement, we will be here to support you. We are going to send you communications, events, newsletters, all the things to help you from day one all the way through commencement. So what are the goals of our program as an office? We really want to welcome you and welcome your students to the tribe. We do this through a variety of ways that we'll talk about later. We want to connect you with other parents and families of the tribe. We see you all introducing yourself in the comments. Maybe you see someone from your area that you didn't know was going to William & Mary. Maybe we can start facilitating those connections now. We really want you to feel like you have the same sense of community that your student does. We want to inform and educate you about all of the wonderful things happening on campus, resources your student might want to take advantage of, and topics that might be critical to your student's success. And finally, we really want to create those meaningful opportunities for involvement here on campus. You will hear your student talk about all the amazing things that they're doing on campus, and we want to provide some of those opportunities for you as well. So what does that mean for us? For parents and families, and especially from our office, this means that same level of consistent communication. It's going to start with your monthly newsletters. They're designed specifically for your student social class, so the class of 2024, and we design those to meet the needs of the transitions and experiences that your student is going through, so you can support your student through that transition. And also so you can stay in the know about all the fun things that are happening on campus. We like to show off students who do really great things, and you'll see that pop up in the newsletter as well. This is also going to mean that you're going to hear from us in times of emergency or crisis. You might receive those emails from Mark Sykes. We're always going to keep you in the loop of what's happening on campus. And especially now in these times, you can ask current families. They received emails from Mark once, twice, 3 times a day, because we felt that it was very important to keep our families in the loop about what was happening at William & Mary. And that will continue well after this year and beyond. We also want to form a sense of community for you. We want to create those connections. And we have an online community that you might be a part of. It's our Parent and Family Facebook group. It's a really active community, and it's where you can ask a lot of your questions and get those answers from your peers and really connect with other members of the tribe and show off the great things your student is doing or the fun gift basket you bought in Colonial Williamsburg. If you need a recommendation for a cake, I'm telling you, that Facebook group is the place to go. Even myself, as someone who lives in Williamsburg, gets amazing recommendations from parents and families. So that's a wonderful online community. And also Family Weekend. Family Weekend has a really special place in our hearts. We consider it the true window into the William & Mary experience. It's a weekend to showcase the amazing things your students are doing, that staff are doing, and really show you why your students fell in love with William & Mary. So there are a few ways that you can stay connected. And I'm going to turn this one over to Mark so he can talk about email and the families@wm.edu email. We might ask how many of you have received an email from us. And Mark, how can they receive emails from us?
Heather, thank you for that. I have to say, I can't believe you haven't even been here a year yet. And I'm just so proud to work with such an amazing team of people to really make this program successful. If you haven't gotten an email from me or a welcome message yet from families@wm.edu, it may mean one of two things. One, your student may not have given us your email on the Common App when they applied. So one of the things that students will be finishing this month or tonight, if you choose, is they can log into the personal information questionnaire that's on the Tribe Guide checklist. They can actually go to the Family tab and type in your email address. That is the fastest way for us to get that email address. It populates about 24 hours later, and you will start getting communication from us. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my emails. I am not going to email you every day, 3 or 4 times a day, telling you lots of stuff. Generally, once a month, you get a communication via the newsletter. Every couple of weeks, I'll send something to note, or as a parent, I have 2 teenagers, and if there's something that I want to know, I generally think parents will probably want to know this too. So don't be afraid. I'm not going to email you every day. The other thing to note is, if you happen to work at a business that you didn't know your student provided your business address, and you may want us to have your personal email address. Again, have your student go into that Tribe Guide checklist, the student information questionnaire, and verify that we've got the email that you want us to talk to. Nope, we're not going to sell it to anybody. Nope, we're not going to provide it to anybody else. I'm actually pretty difficult to get email addresses from when it comes to family emails, because I want you to get the communication from the institution that you choose. And so we want to make sure that we protect that as we move forward. Now, I did notice even about an hour before our program, there was a lot of parents that said, hey, I don't have an email, but thank you for posting on Facebook. That is obviously a great way to do it. And we have a lot of mobile options that we will sort of gear you through the process. The thing to know is Lauren is an incredible partner in communicating with your student when they need to know what they need to do before it's due. And typically after Lauren communicates with your students, a couple days later, you'll get an email from us saying, hey, just want to let you know there's a deadline coming up. Because maybe your student is really good at filling out their stuff, and maybe your student needs a little bit of poking to get those things done on time. But we'll make sure that you know along our journey together what information you need to worry about. I hope that makes sense.
I think that was wonderful. And I'll just reiterate, if maybe your student put in your business email or an email that you would prefer not to receive emails from us at, please have them go into that personal information questionnaire and make sure that those email addresses are the correct ones. That is the easiest way for us to get the accurate information for you all. Also, I just mentioned this, the William and Mary Parent and Family Facebook group. Please join that group and join our online community. It's a very positive and welcoming place. You can get a lot of your questions answered there, and again, recommendations for all of those kits and cakes and things you might want to send your student along the way. We also highly encourage that you download the William and Mary mobile app. This is really a centralized hub of information at William and Mary, access to campus maps, things that are going on campus, and really across major events, we'll upload some of the schedules and documents for those major events. It's a great one-stop shop for all things William and Mary. Also, I saw some chatter on the Facebook group about what social media account should we be following. We also use social media because we know that's another way to stay connected to you and to your students. So I wanted to highlight just a few. The WM Families is our Facebook page. We try and post pretty regularly over there. And FYE at William and Mary. That's another great place for your students to stay connected. I know they do a wonderful job of updating about deadlines, events on campus, and spotlighting the great work of students. Also, we both have Instagram accounts if that is your preferred mode of communication. William and Mary _families, WMFYE is a great place to connect with us there. Neither of us have TikTok accounts yet, but stay tuned. They're shaking their fingers no at me. I also have not delved into the TikTok, so we will probably
My
stay out of that
14-year-old told me I am not allowed to dance with her on TikTok. I don't get it. I think I'm a wonderful dancer. I was dancing to the music earlier.
Well, we will try and stay away from TikTok, even though we know that your students are probably really loving it right now. But and also just stay connected to our social media, because there's going to be some really fun things coming out of both of our offices, especially for the class of 2024 and other new students who are coming to William and Mary. And so we're really excited about the fun things that we have planned for you this summer. With that, I wanted to talk about what webinars are coming up in our series. So up next Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, is going to be our pre-orientation programs webinar. We're going to cover the 4 pre-orientation programs, get your questions answered about those. We're going to talk about student accessibility services, any of that housing paperwork, questions you might have. They're going to join us and go really in depth on those topics. We're also going to talk about meal plans and more, bookstore, tribe card, all of those fun things. We're going to talk about that with the experts here on campus. And then we're going to talk about academic advising and course registration. If you have questions about that, that will be a great webinar to hop on. We're going to have the experts again from academic advising talk us through what's really going on with that and how that process works. And this is just a snippet. This gets us about halfway through the summer. There's a whole other schedule, and you can find that on our website, www.wm.edu/parents. But at this time, I am going to open it up for questions. So if you have those burning questions, please submit them via Q&A. At this time, I'm also going to turn off my video because I'm going to be reading the questions, and so I don't want you to see my face not focused on the screen. So I'm going to turn off my camera and turn it over to the other two for our question and answer period. Okay, first question. Do students already have a William and Mary email address?
They do. All students about 24 to 48 hours after their deposit has been processed will automatically will have a William and Mary email address generated for them. They actually have to go in and activate their email, and the link to that activation site is located not only within the Tribe Guide online, which I'll talk a little bit about in a second because I know there's some questions there. But it's also in their email from undergraduate admission, and it's found on the wm.edu/welcome page. So if your student has not yet activated their William and Mary email address, please encourage them to do so. It is connected to a G Suite or a Google Suite account. And so once they activate their William and Mary email address, they will also therefore activate a new Google Drive and things of that nature. And so the link to find that same address on the Tribe Guide is literally on the front page. So if you do wm.edu/Tribe Guide, all one word, that'll automatically take you to the landing site, which will have some of those initial to-dos before you even get into the checklist, like activating your William and Mary email. Heather has just put those hyperlinks in the chat box so that folks can review them and copy and paste as needed.
Okay, we have a few questions here, and maybe Mark and Lauren can touch on this. How are we planning for the fall? Are we planning to be on campus? What's the plan?
I can share with you that the plan today and moving forward, as much as we know and can plan for the unknown, is to be in person as long as it's safe. I think the thing to remember is the surrounding public health context, the decisions by the federal government, by the Virginia leadership. It's really helping us frame what our options are for the fall. And I think our number one, and I think you can agree with me, parents, our number one consideration is to ensure your children's safety as we are planning for the fall. Doc, for many of you who we do have your email address, I forwarded a message from our president yesterday afternoon, and it really mentioned some of the strategic sort of options that we have available, some of the planning and how we are working with the Department of Education in Virginia, the Center for Disease Control, and other agencies to see how we can plan forward. Again, I'll send that out in probably another few days, and also make sure that we are posting that information on the parent Facebook page if you were not able to get that email. But we are planning for the fall. We are planning to have you in person, and we hope, as long as it's safe, that we can do that.
I know that there are probably some questions about timeline around that decision, and I think that the president and her cabinet, her leadership team, have made it very clear that there will be conversations ongoing with hopefully some concrete information released by middle of June. That's the hope, and sort of that's the timeline that we're working from. And as we have said on all of our websites and our communications to students thus far, as soon as we know something, we will share that something with you all, because right now we're planning for all scenarios.
I have two questions here related to the Facebook group. Mark, what is the name of our Facebook group? Is this the only one, or is there a class of 2024 parents Facebook group?
There's only one parent Facebook group associated with William and Mary, and that is the facebook.com/WMFamilies. There is no official communication coming from anywhere else, and if you are a member of any other group besides that, it's not us. Over the years, we've had many groups try to look like the class of X and pretend that they are part of the William and Mary tribe and a part of our official communications. We only have one parent and Facebook group, and that's facebook.com/WMFamilies.
Question for Lauren, will there be any opportunities to join virtually or have webinars like this for students?
Yes, this goes back to those welcome events and the meetups that I was discussing when we were talking about things that would happen this summer. We will do meetups for students alongside current student leaders, so they'll have a chance to actually talk with students who have been there and done that as far as the transition is concerned. These are also student leaders that are heavily involved in our orientation program, and so they will have sometimes the inside scoop on what can be expected during the orientation program itself. All of the information about those webinars, meetups, and welcome events will go to their William and Mary email addresses. Another plug for them to go ahead and activate that address sooner rather than later.
One question I have here will be, how how can families support their students in the roommate finding process?
I think the first thing for families to know is to be aware of the different options that students have when it comes to actually finding a roommate. There's the social media realm. You'll hear a lot of students right now, if your students talking about the class of 2024 official Facebook group that that undergraduate admission started, and then FYE carries through with them over the course of their university experience. You'll hear them posting about sort of posting introductions, talking about wanting to find a roommate through that realm. And while some students do find a match on social media through that Facebook group or through some Instagram posts, it's not the only way for students to find a roommate. Some students will find their roommates through I'm going to say some of these general meetups or welcome events. So as they're connecting online and they're hearing answers or they're hearing questions, they're going to be a little bit more astute than probably we ever were in reaching out to folks and sort of getting their contact information and talking with them about likes and dislikes and whether or not they might be a good match. The other option when it comes to roommate matching and roommate finding is to be matched, I just lost the word, not anonymously, randomly. There we go. And so it's to do a random roommate assignment. And it's not quite so random. Students, as they're completing their housing application, complete a series of questions that talk about likes, dislikes, habits, interests, things of that nature, behaviors that they may take part in terms of studying or cleanliness. And so if they're going to go through with sort of doing a matching, sort of an anonymous matching choice with their housing or with their roommate, they're going to want to make sure that they're answering those questionnaires honestly and based off of current behaviors and not who they think they might want to be or who they want to be as a college or university student. A lot of our students will actually go this automatic matching route. They don't necessarily talk about it a lot. I think it's a lot easier for students to say, oh, I picked my roommate and this is how it worked and it's been beautiful. But unfortunately, a lot of the roommate issues that we hear about are from students who have made a decision to meet somebody or live with somebody through social media or even somebody that they might have known during their time in elementary or high school. The random matching actually has a really quite high successful percentage rate. It is also a good way for students to maybe get outside of their comfort zone a little bit, especially if they're coming from a high school environment where many of their classmates might be joining the William and Mary community. It allows them an opportunity to sort of step out and be their own person and not be another student from X high school or from X geographic region. I'm sort of looking at our NOVA families, our DC Metro families with that one, with that answer. So I think once you know the options, you can sort of talk your student through decisions and choices that they want to make. Some students are going to want to go with the familiar, and that's okay. But I think as families, you need to then be prepared to answer the questions and help them walk through how they reconcile when a roommate dispute might pop up, or how they can work through challenges when perhaps someone isn't behaving the way that they think they ought to, or that they knew that they used to when they were in high school. And I know that seems really vague and sort of out there, but we never know what's going to sort of pop up when we're talking about some of these roommate situations. And so it's just good for you to be prepared to ask questions, to listen openly, and to also start thinking about what's the primary concern. Because a lot of times when you get those calls and you hear, Mark's being mean to me, it's not that Mark has been mean to me, it's that there's something else that's sort of bothering me about Mark's behavior. And so you keep asking those open-ended questions until you get to that nugget. And then once you determine that nugget, you can help them then make a strategy, make a plan for how they're going to move forward. And maybe it's going to be talking with the student leader, their resident assistant who lives with them in their community. Maybe it's elevating it to talking with a professional staff member in residence life. But it's to ask those questions to really get at the nugget of what is the issue and not Mark's being mean mean to me, because we often know that's what they're going to share first, instead of I'm really struggling with XYZ, and I don't know how to talk about that in a way that makes me feel comfortable.
Thank you, Lauren. That was such a wonderful answer. So I've reviewed the questions. We have a lot of themes popping up. So one of the themes is there are so many William and Mary apps. Which one is it? It is the William and Mary mobile. The profile for that on the App Store is just going to be a green background with a white cipher. William and Mary mobile is going to be the mobile app to download first. Next, we have questions about, again, how do I get emails from families at wm.edu? Just want to send another general reminder. We need to make sure that your student is filling out the personal information questionnaire, and that is on the Student Tribe Guide checklist. It is the personal information questionnaire. Your student will have to fill out that form. It's under the Families tab that they can do the family emails. So if you've gotten an email from families at wm.edu, then we already have your email address. If not, just maybe check in with your student and see when they plan to fill out the personal information questionnaire. And again, that is found on the Students Tribe Guide checklist. So those are some big questions that we got. My next question, and this will be one of our last questions, is going to be when can families and students expect to receive more information about financial aid, and when will they start receiving statements?
So financial aid packages are currently being processed. Typically, if you do not receive a financial aid package by, I'm going to say early June, your student will want to reach out to the Office of Financial Aid to inquire as to their status. There's also a handy portal called eServices, and eServices has a whole page dedicated to it within that Tribe Guide checklist, because that's eServices is really student accounts. It's the hub for all things tuition, bill, application of financial aid or loans, as well as it contains information on the parent portal that comes with the eServices account. Now, eServices can be accessed by students using their William and Mary credentials, the same credentials that they use for their William and Mary email account. When they log in, they're going to see a number of different tabs. One of those tabs is going to include information about billing and statements. The first monthly semester statement, which typically includes core tuition and housing, as well as any affiliated student fees, will be released typically on July 10th. The bill is then due by August 1st. Now, if you are anticipating financial aid, loans, scholarships, or other outside aid to be applied to your student's bill, and you're not seeing a zero balance by August 1st, don't fret. Because we know that it takes time for all of those different processes to actually come to fruition before they get applied. And so as long as the Office of Financial Aid and the Bursar's office are aware that those are pieces that are coming down the road for your student statement, then you should be all set. And this is why if you don't have a financial aid package pulled together by financial aid by early June, you and your student will want to reach out to them to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Some of this may be that you need to go back in and correct your FAFSA based off of your submission of any tax returns. Some of this might be missing documentation, but it's better to be proactive than reactive when it comes to financial aid.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I will turn my camera back on now that I'm done reading all of your questions. And I know there were so many questions that we were not able to get to. What I would highly recommend is that you reach out to us via email. We are very happy to answer those questions. We have a team who is looking forward to answer those questions for you. So again, if you did not have your question answered, we do apologize, but we are more than happy to answer those questions in the coming days, weeks, and months. Thank you again so much for joining us. Thank you, Lauren, for spending your evening with us. We really do appreciate it. I hope you all got to know a little bit about us and why we're excited that your student is joining the tribe and that you're joining the tribe community as well. Thanks again for joining us, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful evening. Stay safe and be well.